Christmas at the Brown family compound was never really about peace on earth or goodwill toward men. For decades, it was about politics, hierarchy, and proving your loyalty to the patriarch. But this particular Christmas, the one that played out in front of millions of horrified viewers, was different. It wasn't just a holiday gathering. It was a psychological operation. Kody Brown thought he had orchestrated the perfect masterstroke of humiliation. He set the stage, he bought the props, and he invited the audience, expecting to see his youngest daughter truly crumble under the weight of jealousy and rejection. He expected tears. He expected a scene that would validate his narrative that Christine's children were disrespectful and ungrateful. But Kody made a critical miscalculation. He didn't realize that while he was playing checkers, a 12-year-old girl was playing 4D chess. What we witnessed wasn't a child being bullied. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare executed by a preteen who completely dismantled a narcissist without speaking a single disrespectful word. Before we dive deep into the specific moment truly broke Kody's ego forever, I need you to do something for me. We are hacking the algorithm to expose the darkest truths behind reality TV that the networks don't want you to see. If you want to keep uncovering these psychological deep dives and insider secrets, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. It helps us get these stories out to the people who need to hear them. Now, let's get back to the mansion. To understand the magnitude of Truly's victory, we have to look at the setup. This wasn't a spontaneous moment of gift giving. Insider reports and fan theories have long suggested that the second Christmas at Robin's house was a carefully curated event designed to highlight the disparity between the wives. You have the context of Christine leaving, the family fracturing, and Kody feeling like his control was slipping away like sand through his fingers. When a narcissist loses control, they don't retreat. They lash out. They try to reestablish dominance by showing you exactly what you are missing out on. The theory here is that Kody didn't buy those expensive electric mini bikes just because he loves Robin's kids. He bought them as props. They were stage lighting for his performance of The Good Father, a play he was putting on specifically to make Truly and her sisters feel small. There is a concept in psychology called the double bind, where a child is put in a situation where no matter what they do, they lose. If Truly had cried, Kody would have pointed a finger and said, "Look at Christine's daughter. Look how jealous and bitter she is." It would have fueled his victim narrative. If she had gotten angry, he would have labeled her disrespectful. But Truly did something that rumors suggest even the production crew wasn't expecting. She engaged in what experts call gray rocking. This is a technique usually taught to adults surviving toxic relationships, but here was a child deploying it instinctively. She became as uninteresting and unreactive as a gray rock. When the garage door opened and the expensive toys were revealed, toys that cost more than some of the siblings' entire yearly support, she didn't gasp. She didn't frown. She stood there with a polite, detached smile. Let's look at the trap moment closer. Kody is physically buzzing with energy. Reports from those analyzing the footage frame by frame point out that Kody kept glancing at Truly, almost hungry for a reaction. He wasn't looking at the kids receiving the gifts. He was looking at the child who wasn't getting one. That is the dark heart of this interaction. A normal father watches the joy on the recipient's face. A bitter man watches the pain on the excluded child's face. But Truly starved him of that supply. She held a book and a sweater, her modest gifts, and watched the chaos unfold like she was an anthropologist studying a strange, primitive tribe. She realized early on that she was a guest in her father's life, not a resident, and guests don't make scenes. There is a lot of buzz online about what was happening behind the scenes during this filming. Some insider leaks claim that the tension in the room was so thick that the camera operators were uncomfortable. You can see it in the editing. The shots linger on Truly, waiting for the breakdown, but she refuses to give the producers the money shot. Instead of pouting, she politely says thank you for her smaller gifts. This is where Kody's plan begins to backfire. He wanted to showcase his generosity to Robyn's kids to punish Christine for leaving, but all he did was highlight his own cruelty. He exposed the financial and emotional gap between the loyal family and the enemy combatants. Truly's silence was louder than any scream could have been because it mirrored the silence she had likely been receiving from him for months. Then comes the moment that genuinely disturbed thousands of viewers. The laugh. Kody hops on one of the mini bikes, a grown man on a child's toy, and begins to ride around in circles, cackling. It wasn't a laugh of joy. It sounded manic. It sounded like a villain in a low-budget movie who thinks he has finally defeated the hero. But why was he laughing? He wasn't playing with his kids. He was showing off in front of his kids. He was demonstrating that he controls the resources. He controls the fun. If you want the bike, you have to buy into the Kody Brown program, which means total submission to him and Robyn. By riding the bike himself, he was physically centering himself in the middle of the celebration. It was screaming, "Look at me!" But Truly just watched. And in that watching, she stripped him of his power. The role of Robyn in this scene cannot be ignored, and recent speculation suggests her involvement was more active than it appeared. While Kody was performing his circus act, Robyn was in the background. She claims to desperately want the big picture family. She cries about wanting unity. Yet in this moment of clear segregation, she is not rushing to comfort the left out children. She isn't pulling a bike aside and saying, "Here, Truly, you take a turn." She is observing. Some keen-eyed viewers noticed she seemed to be recording the event on her phone, or at least hiding behind it. This creates a credibility dilemma for her character. You cannot claim to advocate for equality while silently benefiting from extreme favoritism. If the rumors are true that Robyn feeds Kody's paranoia about the other wives, then this Christmas was the manifestation of her whispers. She got to be the benevolent queen handing out treasures to her loyal subjects, while the rebels were given crumbs. But let's talk about the escalating stakes here. This wasn't just about toys. This was a proxy war. Because Truly is Christine's daughter, the daughter of the wife who finally said enough, she is treated with the same financial hesitation that her mother endured. We have seen reports and filings regarding the family's finances, and the disparity is shocking. Kody views his children not as individual human beings with their own needs, but as extensions of their mothers. If the mother is in good standing, the child gets the premium package. If the mother is on the naughty list, the child gets the basic subscription. Truly was being punished for Christine's bravery. And the heartbreaking irony is that Kody expected Truly to beg for the premium package. He expected her to come to him and ask, "Daddy, why don't I get one?" So he could explain that it's because her mother took him away or some other twisted logic. Instead, Truly leaned into the concrete example of dignity. While Robyn's children, who are often described by fans as being infantilized or coddled, were running around screaming and unable to regulate their excitement, Truly stood perfectly still. This contrast is vital. It showed the difference in how they were raised. Christine raised her children to be survivors, to be independent, and to find value in themselves, not in material objects. Robyn's children are raised to be dependent on Kody's favor. Truly's $25 sweater became a symbol of her autonomy. She didn't need the bike to be happy, and that terrified Kody. A narcissist cannot control someone who doesn't want what they have to offer. If you don't want his money and you don't need his attention, he has no leverage over you. There is a theory circulating that Truly had been prepped for this, not in a malicious way, but in a protective way. It's highly possible that Christine, knowing Kody's patterns, had a conversation with Truly beforehand. She might have said, "It's going to be overwhelming and it might not feel fair, but you just be yourself." That preparation is what allowed her to weather the storm. She wasn't blindsided because she already knew who her father was. The disappointment had happened years ago. This was just the confirmation. When you accept that your parents are incapable of unconditional love, their attempts to hurt you stop working. You stop expecting water from a stone. Truly looked at Kody and saw the stone. The irony of the self-own here is magnificent. Kody orchestrated this entire event to stroke his ego. He wanted to be the generous king. But the internet reaction was swift and brutal. People didn't see a generous father. They saw a small, bitter man bullying a child. The comment sections were flooded not with praise for the bikes, but with admiration for Truly's stoicism. He tried to frame her as the outsider, but the audience adopted her as the hero. He tried to make Robyn's family look like the ideal, but they looked chaotic and greedy. Every laugh he let out while riding that bike dug his public relations grave a little deeper. He revealed his behavioral flaw for the world to see. His love is a transaction, and his currency is counterfeit. To really grasp the darkness of this moment, we have to follow the money, because in the Brown family, love and finance are the same thing. There is a concrete example of financial manipulation here that goes beyond just a missed Christmas present. For years, viewers have watched Kody complain about the family's financial struggles. We've heard him tell the other wives that there isn't enough money to build on the property, or to pay off the land, or to help with surgeries. Yet suddenly, for this second Christmas at Robyn's, the budget seemed limitless. Insider theories and reports suggest that the funds used for these lavish gifts, the mini bikes, the piles of boxes, may have come from the family pot, a joint account that all the wives contributed to for decades. If these rumors are true, it adds a sickening layer to the scene. Truly wasn't just watching her father spoil her step-siblings, she was watching him do it with money that her own mother likely helped earn. This brings us to the escalating stakes of the proxy war. Kody wasn't just fighting Christine in the divorce proceedings, he was fighting her through their child. Psychological experts often talk about the discard phase in a narcissistic relationship. Once the source of supply, in this case Christine, decides to leave, the narcissist devalues everything associated with her. Because Truly is an extension of Christine, she was devalued. The $1,000 bikes for Robyn's kids versus the small tokens for Truly wasn't an accident or an oversight. It was a calculated message. Kody was effectively saying, this is what you get when you are loyal, and this is what you get when you are a traitor. He turned Christmas morning into a loyalty test that Truly was destined to fail simply by existing. But this is where the ironic hook digs deeper. Kody expected this financial display to crush Truly. He likely anticipated that she would go back to Christine and report how amazing it was at Dad's house, making Christine feel guilty or inadequate. He wanted to weaponize Truly's envy, but he forgot that Truly had been raised in a house full of love, not things. Reports claim that Christine has been very open with her children about the situation, not to poison them, but to validate their reality. So when Kody looked at Truly, waiting for the jealousy to spark, he found nothing. He found a wall. And nothing infuriates a man like Kody more than being ignored. You can see it in his body language. He becomes louder, more erratic, revving the engine of the bike, desperate to draw her eye. He is practically begging for her to be upset because her pain would prove that he still matters. Her indifference proved he was already gone. Let's shift the focus to the credibility dilemma involving Robyn. Throughout the series, Robyn has positioned herself as the family counselor, the one who speaks Kody language, the one who just wants everyone to get along. But her behavior during the Minibike incident shatters that image completely. While Kody was humiliating Truly, Robyn wasn't stepping in to stop it. She wasn't suggesting they put the bikes away until everyone had gone home. She was right there, participating in the spectacle. There's a theory circulating online that Robyn actually needs the other wives and children to be marginalized to feel secure in her own position. If Truly is treated just as well as Solomon or Ariella, then Robyn loses her status as the legal wife and the favorite. The disparity is the point. The cruelty is the glue that holds her and Kody together. They bond over their shared narrative that they are the victims of the rest of the family's bad behavior. This dynamic exposes the thematic hypocrisy at the core of the show. Robyn's children are often portrayed as needing constant protection and supervision, coddled into what some fans call perpetual infancy. Kody treats them like fragile glass dolls that must be shielded from the cold wind of the world. In contrast, Truly is treated with a harsh, cold indifference. She is expected to have the emotional maturity of a 40-year-old woman while being a preteen. Kody demands that she understand the nuance of his complicated relationships, yet he offers her no comfort. It's a double standard that is impossible to miss. He protects Robyn's kids from reality while he forces Christine's kids to survive it. But here is the twist. By coddling Robyn's children, he is weakening them. By neglecting Truly, he inadvertently forged her into steel. She learned to self-soothe, to regulate her own emotions, and to find validation internally. He thought he was breaking her, but he was actually making her unbreakable. There is also a behavioral flaw in Kody that this scene highlights perfectly: his inability to read the room. He genuinely thought the audience would be on his side. He thought we would see a generous dad providing for his loyal family. He didn't realize that the world has changed. We are more aware of emotional manipulation now. We know what gaslighting looks like. When he asked Truly, "Do you like them?" referring to the bikes, it was a trap. If she said no, she's bitter. If she said yes, he expects her to fawn over him. Truly's response, polite, short, and unbothered, was a masterstroke of gray rocking. She gave him facts, not feelings. Yeah, they're cool. That's it. No drama for him to feed on. It was a starvation diet for a man who feeds on conflict. Speculation has been mounting that the fallout from this Christmas was the final nail in the coffin for Kody's relationship with his older children as well. When the episode aired, it wasn't just strangers watching, it was Truly's siblings. Imagine being Peyton or Gwendolyn or Isabel watching your little sister being treated like a second-class citizen on national television. Insider rumors suggest that this broadcast caused a massive rift, with several of the adult children cutting off contact or setting strict boundaries. They saw the maniacal laugh and realized that their father wasn't just absent, he was actively hostile. Kody's attempt to punish Christine by hurting Truly ended up isolating him from almost everyone else. He won the battle of the bikes, but he lost the war for his legacy. Now, we have to talk about the isolation and the reality check that was waiting for Truly when she left that house. The narrative Kody tries to spin is that he is the prize. He thinks that without him, his children and ex-wives are lost, wandering in the wilderness without a patriarch. But the reality is starkly different. Truly didn't go home to a sad, empty house. She went home to a mother who adores her, and eventually to a new figure who would completely upend Kody's world: David Woolley. The contrast between Kody and David is the knockout blow that no one saw coming, least of all Kody. While Kody buys affection with expensive, loud toys that scream, "Look at me," reports about David suggest a quiet, steady presence. We don't see David buying $1,000 bikes on camera to prove he's a good stepdad. We see him showing up. We see him being present. There is a powerful rumor, one that Kody likely hates, that Truly bonded with David not because he bought her things, but because he listened to her. In the world of a narcissist, listening is a weakness. You talk, you command, you direct. But in the real world, listening is love. When Truly went from the high-stress, high-performance environment of Robin's mansion back to the calm, accepting atmosphere of David and Christine's home, the difference must have been jarring. It's the difference between being a prop in a play and being a person in a family. Kody's conditional love requires you to constantly audition for his affection. David's presence seems to offer something Kody never could. Safety. You don't have to perform to be safe with David. You just have to be. The escalating stakes also involves the court of public opinion. Kody is obsessed with how he is perceived. He has mentioned his brand and his reputation multiple times. The Christmas episode destroyed that reputation more effectively than any tabloid article ever could. It stripped away the last shreds of the polygamous suffering for his faith persona and revealed the bitter ex-husband underneath. Fans noticed the way he looked at Truly, not with the eyes of a father, but with the eyes of a competitor. He was competing with a child for screen time and dominance. And he lost. He lost because he looked ridiculous. A grown man trying to flex his financial muscles on a preteen is not a powerful move. It's a pathetic display of insecurity. We also need to address the trap moment regarding the timeline. Some sharp-eyed viewers and timeline sleuths have pointed out that this filming took place during a period where Kody was claiming to be mourning the loss of his family. He was telling the cameras how broken he was. Yet in this scene, he is giddy. He is manic. He is celebrating. This contradiction exposes the lie. You cannot be the grieving victim and the gloating victor at the same time. The Joker-like laugh gave the game away. He wasn't sad that Christine left. He was angry that he couldn't control her anymore, and he was taking that anger out on the easiest target available. But Truly refused to be a target. She refused to let his arrow land. She stood there, wrapped in her $25 sweater, and let his arrows fly right past her, hitting nothing but his own ego. Let's go deeper into the insider leaks regarding the aftermath. It's been said by sources close to the production that Kody was furious after the filming wrapped. Not because the kids weren't happy, but because the scene didn't play out how he envisioned. He wanted a Hallmark moment with Robin's kids and a dramatic, tearful confession of regret from Truly. He wanted the footage to show that he was the provider and Christine was the failure. Instead, the footage showed a calm, dignified Truly and a chaotic, frantic Kody. The editors, whether they intended to or not, highlighted this contrast. They cut from Kody's manic face to Truly's stoic face. They showed Robin hiding behind her phone while Truly stood alone. The editing bay became the final judge, and the verdict was guilty. This brings us to the point of no return. For many viewers, and likely for Truly herself, this Christmas was the moment the door closed forever. There is a look in Truly's eyes in later episodes, a look of total detachment. She isn't angry anymore. She isn't trying to win him over. She is just done. That is the ultimate defeat for a narcissist. Hate is not the opposite of love. Indifference is. When Truly stopped caring about Kody's approval, she stripped him of his only weapon. He can buy all the mini bikes in the world. He can buy a fleet of them. It won't matter. You cannot buy back the respect of a child who has seen behind the mask. The mask slipped on Christmas morning, and Truly saw the small, fearful man hiding behind the wizard's curtain. As we move toward the conclusion of this saga, we have to look at the long-term impact on the family dynamic. Kody's Cody's behavior didn't just alienate Truly, it validated Christine's decision to leave. Every second of that footage proved Christine right. If she had stayed, Truly would have been subjected to this treatment every day, not just on holidays. She would have grown up believing she was second best. By leaving, Christine gave Truly the chance to see that this behavior isn't normal. She gave her a baseline for what real love looks like, which made Cody's transactional love impossible to accept. The silent masterclass wasn't just about surviving one Christmas, it was about truly realizing she deserved better. The story doesn't end in that driveway with the mini bikes and the forced smiles. In fact, that moment was just the catalyst for a much larger shift in the family dynamic, one that centers on the isolation Kody inadvertently created for himself. While Kody was busy trying to buy loyalty with combustion engines and performative generosity, he failed to see the reality check approaching from the horizon. That reality check has a name, and it is David Woolley. The introduction of a new father figure into Truly's life provides the ultimate control group for this psychological experiment. We have Kody, the man who demands respect and worship in exchange for conditional resources, versus David, a man who, by all accounts and leaked photos, simply offers presence. The rumors swirling around the family suggest that Kody is deeply threatened by this new dynamic. Why? Because David exposes the lie. Kody has spent years telling his children that he is the sun they must orbit, but Truly found a new galaxy where she isn't required to beg for warmth. Let's look at the thematic hypocrisy of Kody's reaction to Truly's new life. Insider speculation claims that Kody is furious about how quickly his children, especially Truly, have adapted to this new family structure. He likely views it as a betrayal, but this is the self-own in its purest form. Kody created a vacuum. He created an empty space where a father should be, filled only with anxiety and judgment. Nature abhors a vacuum. When Christine left and created a peaceful home, and when David entered that space with genuine interest in Truly's hobbies and thoughts, Kody's power evaporated. He didn't lose Truly because of a divorce decree. He lost her because he refused to know her. He knows the version of her that fits his narrative, the victim of the divorce. But he doesn't know the young woman who stood stoically in his driveway and refused to play his game. This brings us to the point of no return. The Christmas minibike incident was Kody's Hail Mary pass to prove he was the superior parent, but it landed out of bounds. The escalating stakes of his ego required a massive display of wealth to compensate for a massive deficit of love. But here is the brutal truth that insiders and behavioral analysts have pointed out. Children know when they are being bought. Truly knew. The silence she offered him wasn't just shyness, it was an impenetrable fortress of dignity. By refusing to engage in the drama, she refused to validate his transaction. She didn't sell her tears for his attention, and she didn't sell her joy for his money. She kept her emotions for the people who actually care about them. In the economy of the Brown family, Truly just declared bankruptcy on Kody's affection, and that is a terrifying thing for a narcissist to witness. We also have to address the behavioral flaw regarding Robin's children in the aftermath. While Kody was trying to make Truly jealous of Solomon and Ariella, he was actually doing his own favored children a disservice. By teaching them that love looks like a $1,000 bike and that family loyalty requires alienating your siblings, he is setting them up for a lifetime of transactional relationships. Truly, on the other hand, walked away with a $25 sweater and a lesson in self-worth that is priceless. The irony is staggering. The children with the most things are the ones trapped in the most toxic environment, while the child with the least is the one who is truly free. Truly's freedom is Kody's ultimate failure. He wanted to punish her for Christine's departure, but instead, he inadvertently pushed her toward a healthier, happier life where his opinion simply doesn't matter anymore. There is a credibility dilemma that Kody can never fix now. The footage exists forever. Years from now, Truly can look back at that Christmas and see exactly what happened. She won't need insider reports or theories. She has the evidence. She will see a father who was more interested in performing for a camera than connecting with his daughter. She will see a stepmother hiding behind a phone, documenting the awkwardness rather than bridging the gap. And she will see herself, a brave 12-year-old girl standing her ground against a tidal wave of emotional manipulation. That video is Kody's legacy. He thought he was filming a triumph, but he was filming a confession. He confessed to the world that he does not know how to love his children equally. And he confessed that his ego is more important than their hearts. The concrete example of Truly's victory is in her silence. In a world where reality TV stars scream, throw drinks, and flip tables to get screen time, Truly did the most radical thing possible. She did nothing. She didn't give Kody the clip he wanted. She didn't give the producers the drama they craved. She gave them reality. And the reality was boring, awkward, and sad. By stripping the moment of its dramatic potential, she forced the audience to look at the raw, uncomfortable truth of Kody's parenting. She forced us to see him not as a patriarch, but as a bully. And bullies lose their power the moment you stop reacting to them. Kody was revving that engine, making all that noise, desperate for a reaction. But Truly had already tuned him out. She was already gone. As we wrap up this analysis, think about the thematic hypocrisy of the entire series. The show started with a mission to prove that love should be multiplied, not divided. But in this final, crushing scene, Kody proved the exact opposite. He divided his family into haves and have-nots, into loyalists and traitors. He turned Christmas, the ultimate symbol of giving, into a weapon of taking. He tried to take Truly's dignity, her joy, and her security, but he failed. He failed because he underestimated the quiet strength of a girl raised by a mother who finally learned to say no. Truly is the silent masterclass in how to break a narcissist. You don't fight them. You don't argue with them. You just let them be exactly who they are while you go on to be happy without them. Kody is left with his bikes, his mansion, and his obedience. Truly is left with her peace. And in the end, peace is the only luxury Kody Brown cannot afford. Kody Brown thought he was the director of this scene, but Truly was the critic who shut the production down. She exposed the cracks in the foundation simply by refusing to paint over them. The silent masterclass wasn't a calculated move by a manipulative mastermind. It was the natural defense of a child who saw the truth. Kody wanted to be the king of Christmas, but thanks to a 12-year-old girl, he was revealed to be nothing more than a jester in a crown of fool's gold. Truly didn't just survive that Christmas, she transcended it. And that is a victory that no amount of money, screen time, or mini bikes can ever buy. This is the reality they hide in the edits. This is the psychology they don't want you to analyze, but we see it. We see the patterns, the manipulation, and the triumph of the human spirit against narcissistic control. If you want to keep exposing the truth behind the reality TV facade and learning the psychological secrets they try to bury, you know what to do. Smash that like button to help the algorithm find more truth seekers, and hit subscribe so you never miss a deep dive. The story isn't over, and neither is our investigation. I'll see you in the next video.